go back to our login, paste it there, change this to email, change this one to password, and this one to login, email, password, and login. I believe that's what I called them, right? Email, password, login. Sweet. Code out our event listener. Click. Bam. Tossing in our function. And here's where we can code out the logic for our Firebase authentication, going back to the page that we were previously at. Going to the docs, I believe it was in build, authentication, web, and then manage users. No, let's just scroll down. Get started, and then we can scroll down to sign in existing users, copy our lovely code here, bada bing, bada boom. And believe it or not, because we did it correctly, we can just copy an email, use password, and it will go in. But we need to change these to dot value and dot value. Sweetness. Go back. Now test it. Hopefully I didn't mess things up again. Log in. Did I use the wrong thing? Test@email.com. Let's see, test@email.com. Did I type my password in wrong? Oh, I must have forgot my password.
So the fun part about this right here is if you do forget your password and you put a fake email, you can't retrieve your password.
Cannot. Nope.
All right. So because the thing is, notice on this page right here, there's nowhere where a password is. All right. So it's actually a security feature for Firebase. So when it generates in that, you are not allowed to see anyone's password, which is actually kind of nice. So if the email, it'll only send a password reset if you initialize it from here to that email. So just keep that in mind. So try to at least put one email that you use. That way then you can kind of go from there.
Cool. So then now you can see, once I figured out what my password was, I typed it in correctly. I now receive all of this stuff. I also too forgot to console log it. So that's why we didn't see anything previously. But add that console log, add the logic, copy it from the doc, create your variables, use the correct email and password, and you've got yourself a sign-in page. Sweet.
Cool. All right.
Cool.
Well, people get caught up. Corn, what was your question?
Got an error message. If I can share my screen real quick.
Sure.
In 404. But
404.
yeah, error aborted not found. It's pointing at the JS file, but I don't see what's wrong with it. Let me these here. You see that? Do you see it? Yeah.
I had
Let's.
thing.
Interesting. Scripts, sign up JS, scripts, sign up JS. So then you have scripts, sign up JS.
Is it? I thought I had the position right for my.
So slash scripts slash sign up JS.
I have an authentication for the sign up because I'm gonna sign up, right? Yeah, I'm gonna sign up.
It was my sign up page
on
too.
your sign up page, you need to do // instead of / because you need to go up a route and then over. So do add one. There you go.
Oh. Cool. I don't know what this is.
Do the same thing for your CSS as well. Oh,
I don't have a
He
CSS.
doesn't have a CSS. That's interesting.
okay. Well, then
I'll
scroll
fix
up
my
to the
problem.
top. You must have left. No,
Oh, I
no.
did leave. Yeah. You're right. You're right. Ooh, let me unshare my screen. 1 second.
Cool.
Are there any other kind of questions at this point?
So the only question, I guess, on the login page, is there a success or something that we know it's working when we do a console log user?
You should just see the data come back if you were to console log the user.
Okay.
So like you should see something like, I'll just share my screen one more time, something like this. So you can see it has my email in there as well as the refresh token and my UUID or UID, my user ID, which is here.
Just a question. Yeah, when it gives you that refresh token and all that, is it, well, do you know if it's using something like JWT?
I'm not too sure if this one is specifically JWT because JWT is typically in 3 different parts and this one looks like it's all together. As to what it is using, I'm not too sure.
Well, oh, you're saying that it looks like it's that token is like refresh and access token all in one, right?
Yeah, so it looks like it's just one long string. Typically, when you see a JWT token, it'll be split up into 3 different parts.
Yeah.
Right. So I'm not too sure if this one is JWT. I'm not too sure actually what it is using at all.
Yeah,
Actually,
we have to ask Google, yeah. But so yeah, I'm just curious, like during the whole like user session, it just only passes back the refresh token, like no other.
Yeah, yeah. So you could use the refresh token to check to see if like the status of the user type of thing. Where like, for example, let's say you had to disable the account or delete it or something like that. The token itself will get changed for that user.
Yeah.
Or anything that's like a vital change. Like let's say you allowed them to change their account where they could change the email it's associated to or something like that. So it actually picks that up in that token for the refresh piece.
That's cool.
Yeah. And it's kind of it's nice. I'll paste the where I have to find it in the docs again, like where it is, but it's in the user manage user section. So then you could revoke the tokens and so forth as well if you needed to.
You know, it says it's a node, like you could still do it in client side in a way. The like revoking. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Cool. Are there any other kind of questions at the moment? Cool. Should we take a quick break and then we could kind of shift over on just how we would just play with data in general and get something connected. And then, yeah, we should be able to cover both ends. So at like 10 minutes, good for everybody? All right, welcome back, everybody. So now I'm gonna take what Angel had and we're just gonna add some data and so forth. First, what we'll do is we'll just make it where we're gonna just make a page and show you how to get the data piece connected. And then we'll go from there, okay? So let me go ahead and share my screen. So let's see, let me kind of clean this up a little bit. Hopefully I'm sharing the right screen, right?
Yeah,
fun
we
times.
got VS Code and Firestore open.
Right? Like all sorts of stuff going on here, right? All right, so I started to build out, wait, this is the wrong project. Nope, that's the right project, cool. I didn't do the authentication, so we'll talk about this for a quick second. We got email, password. Go ahead and do this. All right. And I did want to mention this part right here. See where you have like the authorized domain. So what happens up here is you can think of this as your course policy. All right. So those of you who know what course policy is, those of you who do not know, this allows access to your database. All right. So as we are building out, I'm just trying to make sure I can see everybody. There we go. Okay. So right now, localhost is set up, and these the other authorized domains are the site of the project name, and then one with the web version, because we did a web app. So you can add a domain. So let's say you have your own online site that you wanted to use. You could add it to here, and when you have it loaded there, it will be able to connect to your Firebase without it kicking you out. Okay. So normally we just tell people, leave localhost in here until you're done with it, right? That way, then it doesn't kind of open it up where anyone could technically, if they get everything correct, get into it and so forth. Okay. You can also set things like one account per email and stuff like that. So, and then right here is like how, like, protect from abuse, limit the anonymous signups and so forth. So 100 an hour can happen. So just in case you get spammed with a ton of bots or something like that, it will cut you off at a certain point. Okay. So I always like to kind of mention that piece. Let's see. All right, cool. We'll do this. I'm going to add code we'll just call this meetup. Meetup. 1, 2, 3. There you go. Hopefully I'll remember this. Let's do this just in case. All right, cool. All right, got myself an account. Yeah, I always do this just because I know it's good to always have one in there. So now let's click on this Firestore database. All right, and what we're going to do is we're going to click on create a database, and this is what super important when this first part pops up. And it's going to say, do you want to start in production mode? And if you do this, it says right here, your data is private by default, and read-write access will only be granted by your security rules. Okay, so that means that you have to go spend time in your security rules and so forth. Right now, we're going to click on test mode, and what it does is, if you look at this, it's going to allow read-write access if the request time is less than 30 days from now. All right, so it will default out of this in the next 30 days, which is really nice, because then it gives you the ability to go and play around with it all you want, make sure you're doing stuff, and then you could always come back in here and reset this rule and so forth to give you more time to play with, or you could just jump into production after you have your authentication pieces and security rules all lined up. Okay, so I'm going to just do start in test mode. So I'm going to click on next, and it's going to ask for a location. So I'm going to just pick US West 2. You can pick US West 1, just whichever one pops up first. So do that, hit enabled. And what it's going to do is create your provisioning profiles that will allow you to connect to the Firestore or the cloud Firestore piece. So this may take a minute. Just let me know, just blurt out if I'm going too fast or anything like that, or if you have questions along the way. But boom, there you go, you're in. All right, so once this happens, that means that database is created and you're ready to go. If you click on the rules, you can kind of edit the rules, and you can always change this stuff here and play around with this stuff. But for now, I'm just going to leave it as is, and we got our data. All right, so that concludes our thing. Nice seeing you. No, I'm just kidding. Never gets old. Never gets old. I think I also forgot to make an actual app. Nope, I did. All right, let's do this. My app, meetup, crud. There we go. Register that, because I need this code here. Because if I ended up using Angels, which I had no problem doing, it's just gonna go to his stuff. So I'm gonna quickly change this to stuff here. All right, we're gonna change this here. I think that's all we have to change, and we should be okay.
Is anybody else getting an unknown error occurred for enabling Firestore?
Oh, that is interesting. Here, let me hit stop share. Go ahead and share your screen. Let's take a look at why it's saying unknown. Let's make the error known.
Oops.
Oh, okay. All right.
Should I close this and start again?
What happens if you hit enable again?
I did it a second time and it gave me the same error.
Then I wonder if we have to change it from US West 1 to 2. Oh, no, something's happening. Did it get this far before?
Yep. Nope.
Oh,
Nope.
there you go.
So you have the magic touch. Thank you.
Yeah, well, I do my best. All right, okay. So I did a swap here real quick for this. And so now I could go back to the console. Let's go ahead and do this. All right. Okay, so go back to here. We got our database. Now you can just jump in and create your collection if you wanted to. Okay, you could also have it made through your app itself, but we're just gonna make this in here. And the couple of things that I'm gonna do is, let's see, hold on, I just gotta make sure I know which fields I'm adding again. Where'd it go? Okay, it's on this side over here. All right, so let's go ahead and do this. Go ahead and click on Start Collection. So we need to give it a name. So for example, you could make users. So if you did users, you would want to add additional information and so forth. Right now, we're just using it to log in. So I'm not going to really focus on that one. I'm going to give you guys some URLs to some Street Fighter music, because we all love Street Fighter, right? Street Fighter video game. Yeah. Yeah. All right, cool. Thank you, Kenneth. Appreciate it, man. All right. So what we're gonna do is I'm gonna just call this let's just call it music. All right. So you can click on next. And this is where the fun begins. So you got your document ID. So you can start with something, or you could just click auto ID if you want to do that. It's gonna add the first record, and this is what we're doing. However, the cool thing is we're gonna build out what that record is and what the fields are. So for the time being, we're not gonna make it too complicated at the moment. So we're just gonna do track name and make it a string. I'm gonna make one that's just like what game it's from, a genre, maybe genre. No, we'll just put game. Why not? And then the URL. Okay. There's nothing too fancy, but we're gonna work on quick and easy right now, and then you can come back and edit this. So you hit save once you've done that, and hey, cool. And you could have filled this in. So you're like, oh, you know what? I want to add something to this. So you could go ahead and just type something in and do an update, and it will update automatically for you. This is so quick in playing with data. I think that's what I really love about this. It's like, oh, I could put whatever I want, do a quick update, call it good, and yeah. So if I want to add a new one, I could add, and I could change the fields itself and so forth, and make it different. I wouldn't recommend doing that. So, but if you deleted this, you could redefine everything if you wanted to. And so we're gonna first work on adding to this collection, and then we'll play with the fields a little bit. And then what I'll have you guys do is just add some of the data I'll share onto it, and then we'll make a couple buttons here and there just to get the music playing. All right, so let's go. Did everyone get to make at least one of these? Cool. All right. So now what we're going to do is in the VS Code itself, the way we broke this up, let's just make a new page. Sure, we can just do that. Just going to call this audio.html. Oops, HTM. I got very close on that one. Let's see. HT. Oops, no, that's the wrong spot. There we go. Cool. I'm going to just take everything from here and dump it into here for the time being. I will get rid of this login section though for right now. We'll come back and just add some design towards the end and so forth, since we don't have as much time left. So in here, we're going to change this to, I mean, I guess I could still use one of these scripts, but let's just separate everything. So let's just call this audio.js. Why not? So in your audio HTML, let's connect this to your audio.js. That way, at least everything's separated. And then eventually you could combine all this together, okay? It just makes it a little nice to see it differently. And based on how much JavaScript native vanilla JS you know, you can then go to like custom elements, and then you could even throw in routing if you wanted to, and so forth, to kind of minimize how this is set up, okay? So for right now, we have an audio.js. I do need to copy this part here. So I'm going to copy this first section here and dump it into the audio.js. That way we have our connection, and now we can go from there. So earlier, I believe I posted the libraries link. Let's see, which one was it? It was this one right here. And we post it in the chat. So in this one, we're going to use the libraries for 8, but we're going to use the Firestore. So we need to add this script here, okay? So I'm going to just make a tweak to that. So in the audio HTML, we're going to click in here, and right now we have app and off, okay? So this is all I'm going to do. I'm just going to copy this. Go to here, hit enter, do this, and instead of Firebase-auth, I'm going to look here, it's Firebase-Firestore, okay? And if you do decide to do an update to 9, version 9, then when you do that, they got rid of the, wait, hold on, no. There was a couple where they did change how you connect to it. So these look the same, okay. I saw on some other documentation they got rid of the dash. So this is like, okay, that looks really interesting. But oh, so we're gonna add the Firestore piece itself, okay, and that's gonna allow us to just get the access that we need in order to do the next part, okay. Oh. So let's go ahead and go to audio.js, and what we're going to do is make our function on adding the track itself, okay? Now, what we're going to do is, let's see, up here, I'm going to do, wait, hold on. It's gonna bug me forever. There you go. Tabbed it again. Okay, I get it. All right. So let's go ahead and make a new variable. And what we're gonna do is attach the Firestore to it. Okay. And so in this case, we could just do, well, it could be a const db dot Firebase. Const db equals Firebase dot Firestore. What would cause a problem if I do? We'll see. So now what this is going to do is allow us to have the connection to the Firestore functions that we need. So if we look up back into like sign up and so forth, it was firebase.auth, right? And this is why we needed auth.js right here, because we needed to use that. So this is kind of how Firebase has it all like separated. So when you look at these libraries, if you're needing to be, you know what, I want to use cloud messaging, right? So if you click on it, it'll actually jump into how you could configure your cloud messaging and set this up. And most of these are all kind of set where you're using like Node, or you could use React, Angular, where you're doing an npm install and then importing it in and so forth. You can do this in JavaScript of vanilla.js. It's just they don't show that piece. You got to kind of do a little converting on your own, but I just wanted to share that piece with you. So this is kind of how you read it and go, okay, cool, now I need to call that. So we have our audio.js where we are going to grab our piece here. And funny enough, all you do is the following. So we need to know what our collection name was. So let's go back here and click in here. It's called music. All right, so here, let's do this. There we go. What we just need to do is the following. Ideally, I should probably make it where it's not going to just keep running every time we hit refresh, but it's okay. This is what the delete button lets us do, right? So we're just going to do the following: db dot, and we're going to say add, and what that's going to allow. Actually, sorry, we need to do one more thing before we do that. Once we get the database, now we need to get into the collection itself. So let's go ahead and do a let, and I'm just going to say track reference, so track ref, and we're going to make that equal to db.collection, and then in your parentheses here, you can say what the collection name is. So in this case, in quotes, you would do music, and there we go. So now you have access to everything that is in here, okay? And then now we could just do a dot add, which is really nice. So we say track ref dot add, and then we add our track. So in this case, I'm going to add in the information here. Let me give you one set. That's going to be interesting. It may be ugly in the chat, but feel free to. Oh yeah, totally ugly. But there you go. Boom. So you don't need the quotes though. I don't know why this must have. I messed that up. Sorry. Get rid of the quotes on the. There you go. So left side is track name, game, URL. Okay. And once you do this, if you actually run this, so I'm going to click on audio HTML, do live server. Where is it going to pop up? There we go. And inspect. Oh, I got some errors. What's going on here? Oh, did I forget to put script dot that's my fault. Dot slash. Go ahead and do that. Cool. There we go. So I probably should have put some sort of indicator that it did something, right? However, what we could do is just go here, hit refresh, and we should have our new track. Boom. Pretty cool, huh? So give you guys a second. Hopefully you could get to this part. So literally you were able to just do a dot add and you can add. You can do dot delete to delete. And then you can do There's a bunch of other ones that you can kind of play around with as well. Update, there's a .update, so you could go in and do an update to a field and so forth. And the thing is, if I hit refresh on this page and then go back here, normally, notice how it added it and it just duplicated it, right? So the reason why it's able to duplicate the information in here is because this is being generated by a unique ID. So kind of how that piece goes. Now, let's say you're like, you know what? I want to add a user ID to this. I just did user ID. And then I could just go here, click authentication, copy my user ID, and do this, comma. I go back, oops, go back here, go to the database. Hey, user ID is added. These will not have that field. So then you got to do a little bit of a cleanup for that piece. But that's how simple it's like, okay, cool. Now this track could be associated to my account and I could have it being pulled up. So the next piece I'm going to do is show you how to kind of just retrieve data so we could kind of play around with it. Okay. And then ideally I can, we could do a couple more tracks and so forth. And then I'll show you how to get it to play towards the end. Any questions so far?
So this should add just by refreshing the page?
Yeah, because I'm literally running it right then and there. So you have to make sure you're on the audio.html page in your live serve. Okay.
Okay.
And if you're not on it, it won't do that. Any other kind of questions at the moment or anything?
That doesn't seem.
Yeah, go ahead and share your screen. Let's take a look. And while that happens, I may have Angel help me out, and I'm gonna send you something, Angel.
Okay.
Can you get rid of the quotes?
Yes, sir.
Where do you want me to start?
Okay, all right, so you have your app, auth, Firestore, okay. All right, so is it just not running?
I don't know. It's not adding anything.
Okay, all right, so go back. Where's your live serve page?
Where's my what? The audio page?
Yeah.
Right here.
Okay, all right, inspect it. Let's see if there's an error in your console. All right, let's see. Firebase config initialize app is not a function. All right, so let's look at your audio.js file. Up there, it's firebase.initialize app. There you go. All right, cool. All right, so there you go. You got 2 items.
All right, thank you.
Mm-hmm. All right, so let's go ahead and click back in here. And once Angel helps me clean up some more tracks, he could send it in the chat if you want to add some more to it. And we could get more data, or you could keep running this one for right now and call it good. But the next piece I'm going to show you is how to retrieve this stuff. Okay, so in order for me to do that, oops, sorry, I didn't see my dog there. We are going to, let's kind of clean this up a little bit, but there you go. I'm going to just comment this out. No, wait, what? Oh, okay. That threw me off. All right, okay. So that way this doesn't keep adding, okay? So in this instance, what we're gonna do is we're gonna utilize our, we could still use the track ref actually. So we're gonna just do track ref and then dot get. and then open close parentheses. And then we do a then afterwards, because we have to resolve our promise. And this is where we can just say our, like, let's just do what the doc named it, query snapshot. And then we're just doing arrow function for this. And inside of this, we can just do the following. So now in here, we can just go through our query snapshot and do a for each. So we're going to do a for each, and there we go. And then we're just going to say document, and then do another arrow function. And then in here, let's just console log our doc. Oops, doc at the moment. All right, so let's go back here. Let's take a look. All right, cool. So it ran through 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All right. So if we go back here, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So it pulled everything, right? So now it's like, well, that's not really helpful. What's inside of this stuff? Let's do a .data. And now when you run it, you have everything inside of it, and you have access to all the information you need. So now you could just do the .data and then move it over to an array of objects or whatever you have going on based on what type of application you're using, where you're doing some of that stuff, okay? But the cool thing about this is kind of where this goes back to when I was talking to Andrew for a second. You can play around with the user ID aspect of it if you have access to it. So right now I don't necessarily have the access on this script, so I can show you how you could then only pull up based on the user ID of a certain individual, if you wanted to do it that way. Okay, so I can do that in a second, but is there any questions? Did everyone get this to work where it did do a get?
I went ahead and sent the file in the Zoom chat as well as to you.
Oh, nice, perfect, cool. So feel free to add that. You can play around with that. That location of the URL, I'm gonna leave those tracks up, and that resource will be available for a while. So feel free to kind of just, you know, play around with that piece just to get things going. Yeah. And then you guys probably know how to create a quick audio player, right? To play this stuff. Let's see how much time do I got? I have like 10 minutes.
Pretty close.
Let me do the authentication piece first, and then we can kind of go from there. So I'm gonna jump back into login.js, because in here we use something called we're going to sign in with user password, and then we actually have access to the user. So I'm going to jump to this page here. What is it called? This login? No. Just index.html. Is that one?
For the login, yeah, it's just the index.
Okay, cool, awesome. So right here, when you do login, it will console log the user here. So I'm just going to change this to user.uid, and then I'm going to log in. And hopefully I just remember what the heck my password is, code stack.co, and then code stack.
Meetup.
Oh, yeah, thank you. Meetup 1, 2, 3. I probably spelled meetup wrong. All right, cool. So see how it spit my user ID out, right? So what we can do with this is, if we wanted to start kind of combining it, so it's like, okay, right now, if I'm in my login.js, I am on my index.html, and I unfortunately do not have the database accessible here. So we'll have to add the database. And this is why you could start realizing, okay, cool, I could combine these operations together once you see it and kind of feel more comfortable with it. So this was Firestore. Yeah, there we go. Cool. Was it Firestore? No, Google is making me rethink what I did. Firestore, yeah. Firebase dash Firestore. Why did I get a 404?
I think it just got stuck because it didn't finish what you were typing over on the right hand side.
Oh, okay, cool. I was just like, live reload. You gotta love it. All right, cool. So I got my Firestore in here. So now I can go back into my login and do the same thing as I did in my audio here. So I'm gonna do this, split audio there. Let's take a look. What did I do here? I did the following right there, right? So up here, I'll just do it right up here. So let's go ahead and do that. Const db. Whoops, I should probably spell const properly. There we go. Firebase.firestore. Now we have that. And I'm going to go ahead and just, gosh, I don't even know why I'm not just copying this. Go ahead and just move this over here. Cool. So now when I log in, you can do the same snapshot. So we'll just copy all this over here. And in here, you could have it where it's really based on what you're trying to do, right? I'm just going to console log it for right now, just because we're running out of time. But now we have it where you could go in here and console log the data. But we don't want all the data to get console logged, right? What we want is it's based on the user ID. So this is where you could kind of play around with this and go, okay, well, how do I get the user ID that I need? So in this instance here, we already have it, user UID. Okay, so, and right now we're just doing this, right? So if we wanted to, we could say if, and create an if statement here. I'll get rid of this so we could see it a little bit better. And here I realized I should have made this a lot larger, sorry guys. So if, and then in here, we could say dot, the document dot data. It's what we had in the console log, and then dot, and then the field you want. So in this case, we want user ID. And we could just say if it's equal to user.uid, it will just console log the data. Yeah, at this point, you would put something else in the statement, right? What you want to do with it and so forth. But you could load up the route to the page, load up the data that's associated to that user based on what you want to show. So it could have dashboard data, it could be whatever. In this case, it's the track ref, which is music, db.music, the collection. Okay, so now if I do this properly, code stack.co, meetup 1, 2, 3, I should have only one item getting into it. I am reading through everything at this moment, but this is one way that you could start kind of building this out and to only grab user specific data for that. And I went through that pretty quick, so I could kind of go over it again. So what we did was in the login section here, I just added the same code that we made in the audio. And here, I could do this, paste it here. And I just added this condition. And the reason why I added it here is just because I have access to the login information right now. If you were passing this over, you could do a get user info as you go from one page. You could use it, like save it in local storage, move it over, do a pull just to check to see if a user session is available or stuff like that. But maybe we could do that in a different video in the future. Oh, Are there any kind of questions or anything like that? Because I don't know if I'll be able to get to much more. I'll try to just make a quick play button or an autoplay feature maybe. Cool, right on. So what I could do is, well, are you guys still looking at the screen, catching up? Yeah, okay, cool. So while we have that, maybe I do this. So I could just show you how you could do that quick audio feature. Well, I think I just code it down here. And I have this track, so we could just play this one track here. We could just build it out right here on line 25. Just call it good for that. Let's see. Okay, all right, so let's go ahead and just do that real quick. So I have to create an audio player, and then I can kind of go from there. So in order for me to create an audio player, I need to, so where's my song title? Right there. All right, cool. All right, so let's go ahead and just do this. All right, so underneath login, let's do let audio equal new audio with a capital A. So that allows us to create our audio piece. And actually, sorry, I don't know why I'm doing it way down here. Just put this up here. There we go. Cool. So now in here, what we can do is just inside this if statement. So since I'm going to be making this if statement larger, let's go ahead and just add the brackets, do that. So in here, what we're going to do is we want to set the source of it, right? So let me just log in again real quick. One, two, three. And what we want to do is attach it to this URL. So what we can do is audio.src equal to doc.data. And in this case, it's just one, so you could do this. But if it was returning more, then you would have to put it into an array and then so forth. But in this case, we could just say we want the source equal to the URL that is getting pulled in at that moment. And then you could just do an audio.play. And I'm not sharing my sound, so hopefully it's not going to cause an issue. Make sure your audio is a bit low when you do check it out, though. There you go. Except I forgot to do a stop. So just hit refresh and so forth. So this is like the most intense logging in ever. Like, you know, it's a huge celebration. Congratulations, you got in. And you deserve to jam out on some Street Fighter music. So